Welcome to another production of Source Selection Soundbites. These productions foster learning, insight, and the ability to perform. Today's topic is GSA Schedule Solicitation Nuances. Today we will discuss 3 GSA Schedule Solicitation Nuances. Topics include GSA's version of fair opportunity, soliciting via the GSA Ebuy system, and the direct solicitation of GSA schedule holders. Fair opportunity in government contracting is a recognized principle that generally applies to FAR 16.5 acquisitions for orders issued under multiple award contracts. However, in accordance with Section 863 of the Duncan-Hunter National Defense Authorization Act, it applies to all multiple award contracts. The Act generally requires that all contractors holding a multiple award contract be provided with notice of and an opportunity to compete for any proposed orders under that contract. The GSA schedule has an exception to the general rule. These procedures do not require the notification and opportunity for all eligible schedule contract holders. According to the Act, the agency only has to provide the solicitation to as many vendors as practicable. The way that the Act is implemented in FAR 8.4 is that the solicitation is to be released to as many contractors as practicable, consistent with market research, that will allow the agency to receive at least 3 viable quotations. The Act also provides that if the solicitation was not released to all eligible vendors and 3 viable quotations are not received, an award cannot be made until the CO makes a reasonable effort to obtain additional quotations. So, the schedule offers flexibility in terms of how a CO may solicit industry, but it has guardrails to ensure the government obtains competition. There is one other advantage that GSA schedule procedures have over simplified acquisition procedures. In simplified acquisition procedures, maximum practicable competition means soliciting the incumbent when not using the GFE, but FAR 8.4 procedures only requires that 3 quotes be received, but solicitation of the incumbent is not required. Now let's explore how vendors are solicited when purchasing from the GSA schedules. GSA Ebuy is the first way. GSA Ebuy is an online tool that helps government agencies request quotes for commercial supplies and services. It's meant to both help buyers to more easily reach GSA sellers and help sellers find business opportunities. The tool also helps agencies to achieve competition, receive better pricing, and stay compliant with the FAR and other regulations. Ebuy may be used to publish requests for information to gather information on the GSA pool of capable contractors and industry knowledge, and requests for quotations or request for proposals. In addition, the agency can post answers to questions about RFQs and RFPs and award announcements about the results of competition. As soon as a relevant solicitation is posted to the platform or updates are provided, all eligible users will be automatically notified via email that a solicitation has been posted and how to access more information about the solicitation. To view the specifics of the RFQ notice action provided by Ebuy, users will need to log in to the GSA Ebuy platform. FAR 8.405-2C3 says the agency may post the RFQ on Ebuy to afford all GSA schedule contractors offering the required services under the appropriate multiple award schedules an opportunity to submit a quote. If the solicitation was sent to all eligible schedule holders, in accordance with the Mass Desk reference, it is automatically considered to be adequate justification that reasonable efforts were made to identify contractors who can fulfill the requirement in the event that fewer than 3 quotes are received. The CO may also choose to notify a certain subset of eligible vendors that have the required products or services on their contract. In addition, when a buyer posts on Ebuy, the buyer has the option to allow contractors who offer supplies and/or services under one or more complementary SINs to be notified in order to increase the scope of the audience. Ebuy provides one or more suggested categories based upon your RFQ information. The purpose is to assist the poster in selecting the most relevant category to ensure RFQs get to the right contractors. A key thing to remember is, even though the poster does not choose to send the solicitation to vendors with complementary SINs in the Ebuy system when prompted, that does not restrain vendors from submitting products or services from those complementary SINs. Unless the solicitation expressly states otherwise, they may do so. The other way to solicit vendors is via a direct solicitation to them. These vendors are identified via market research, but there is no statutory method which determines how the market research must be conducted. The FAR passage states the CO should conduct market research, appropriate for the circumstances. That means the manner in which market research is conducted is largely up to the discretion of the agency. The agency must send the solicitation to a sufficient number of vendors to receive at least 3 viable quotations. It is important to note, this approach has no dollar value limit. This method allows the agency to both streamline procurements and obtain sufficient competition. But the caveat is that agency cannot continue with the acquisition if it receives less than 3 viable quotes. In that case, the agency is required to seek additional competition, and if the efforts fail to result in 3 or more quotes, the CO is required to document what efforts were made to achieve competition, despite being unsuccessful. There are several caveats associated with directly soliciting vendors that the CO must be aware of. 1. When the agency directly solicits enough vendors to receive 3 viable quotations, the incumbent has no legal right to be one of those solicited. The decision of where to send the solicitation is a matter of agency discretion. 2. The agency must provide the solicitation to any scheduled vendor that requests the solicitation. It says this in 2 places, FAR 8.404F and 8.405-2C. It does not specifically say this in 8.405-3, but at Productivity Partners, we believe that the 8.404F proclamation sets the stage for all RFQs that are issued under the authority of FAR 8.4. In addition, notice the instructions say any scheduled vendor that requests the solicitation. The FAR did not qualify this instruction by saying eligibility by SIN or any other constraint, so any means any. Vendors are able to take the information and form teams or benefit from the information in a number of ways, so the agency should be willing to release the information upon request. Even though the RFQ must be provided, the agency is not required to extend the due date for an additional vendor that wants to participate in the procurement. Lastly, remember that the rules of the federal supply schedules take precedence over other rules, including the rule of 2. If market research identified a robust set of contractors, but the agency chose to set the acquisition aside, the agency may cancel the solicitation and proceed to solicit a larger pool of contractors when less than 3 viable quotations are received. When ending the set aside, it is seamless because the CO does not have to comply with FAR 19 procedures when doing so. Under the FAR rules, even if the CO obtains less than 3 viable quotations, the CO can still move forward with a determination. However, if a DoD CO only gets 1 response for a requirement valued over the simplified acquisition threshold and the CO solicited for less than 30 days, there is more work to be done, unless an exception applies. The CO may also need to obtain additional pricing information, depending on the CO's ability to determine the price fair and reasonable with the information at hand. To wrap things up, let's review what we discussed. We discussed GSA-style fair opportunity. Second, we discussed releasing solicitations via Ebuy, and third, we discussed direct solicitation of qualified contractors. Thank you for watching another episode of Source Selection Soundbites. For additional information, check out some of the other videos in this series, other Productivity Partners materials, or our Source Selection Answer app that is available on the Google Play Store and Apple Store. In any event, thanks for watching, and see you next time.